Hi, this is Jamey with Stonemaier Games, and I'm here today to talk about a game that I do not own, but increasingly I'm wishing that I did own it. This is Star Wars Imperial Assault. I want to talk about my favorite game mechanism in Star Wars Imperial Assault. I've been trying to figure out this game. I played it a few weeks ago. I was one of the good guys. It's a semi-cooperative game where you're playing a group of Jedi, or rebels, and you're fighting against the Imperial forces that are played by one other player. And I played the game, and I had a good time. I love Star Wars, so I was going to have a good time. But it didn't seem like there were that many interesting decisions in the game. We basically just moved as far as we could, attacked as hard as we could, and then eventually won the first mission. But then an odd thing happened. I spent the next 3 weeks thinking about the game. I couldn't stop thinking about it, and I really wanted to return to it to play it again. So I played it again last night, at game night, and I had pretty much the same experience. There weren't that many interesting decisions. Thematically, it was great, but there's a lot of little fiddly rules, a lot of little text to read, a lot of little things going on that you have to keep track of, and the decisions you make don't really add up to all that much. And yet I really found myself enjoying the game and wanting to play again. I have that feeling right now. I want to play again. So I've been trying to figure that out. And I think it comes down to two things that are kind of combined. One is the aspect of cliffhangers. And this actually came to mind the other day when I was deciding what to watch on my television, on my TiVo, when I ate dinner. I have a lot of quality, or shows that I consider pretty high quality on my TiVo right now. I have Mad Men lined up. I have Shark Tank. I love Shark Tank. I had New Girl, which I love New Girl. And then I had a show on HBO called Silicon Valley. And for some reason, that show is no better than any of those other shows. They're all pretty good shows. But I found myself drawn to Silicon Valley, and I was trying to figure out why, and it kind of corresponds with Star Wars Imperial Assault, which is that every episode of Silicon Valley ends with a cliffhanger. It's not a huge cliffhanger, but something happens right at the end that changes the way that you look at the show just a little bit to make you wonder what happens next. What are people going to do next? What's going to happen next? And I think that cliffhanger aspect ties strongly into Star Wars Imperial Assault because it is a campaign game. The things that happen in one game are going to affect what you can do the following game. It's not like a legacy game. You're not permanently changing that much. Your character gains a little bit of experience, but you're not really changing all that much. But if you win or lose the mission, that impacts what you can do next and the next mission that you can do. And so I think there's this cliffhanger element of it where you've acted out this story. Like I said, there aren't that many interesting decisions, so you're kind of just acting it out. And then at the very end, you're left wondering, everything changes a little bit at the end because you're given a new mission and you're left wondering what's going to happen next. You're also given some credits that you can use to spend on new items, so you're kind of wondering, what can I do with these new things in the next game? How will that impact the next mission? So there's that cliffhanger element that I think is really interesting, and I've been trying to figure out if and how I can incorporate that into my games without going full legacy. I love full legacy, but full legacy is really tough to do. And so I've been just trying to figure out, if you play a game, Scythe is the game I'm working on right now. If you play Scythe, at the end of the game, could there be something that happens, something that's revealed, maybe a key decision made near the end of the game, or a random event or encounter that happens that changes the shape of the game the next time you play? I'm not sure if this is always a good thing. In fact, in many games, it's great that you can just reset the game and play from scratch. And inside, there's a lot of asymmetry because you play with different factions. So the way you might play one game with one faction and wonder, oh, how would I be doing this differently if I played with a different faction? And so that's almost the cliffhanger. You're wondering what would happen next. Scythe also does this with order of operations. There's a lot of little decisions you make in the game to decide which order you're going to do things. So even if you want to play the same faction a second time in a row, you might wonder, what if I had done things in a different order? So different types of cliffhangers. But I'm wondering if there's that Silicon Valley cliffhanger, that Imperial Assault cliffhanger, if that could be added to the end of the game of Scythe to make you kind of eager to play the next time, simply because you want to see what happens. The other thing from Imperial Assault that ties into this is so Imperial Assault, you at least with the 2 missions that I've done, your men start on a map at a certain point. Every map is different, and usually there's some area of the board that you can't see what's in that area yet. Like physically on the board, there are some doors or some walls set up, and you can see what's inside, but you don't actually see what's inside. That area isn't populated until you actually open the door, and then you see what's inside. And that is so much fun, because every time you play within the game, there's a cliffhanger. You're left wondering what's going to happen when this door opens. Is you have some things to do outside the door, but what is going to happen when you open that door? How should you set up your characters so you're ready when you open that door? It's a fantastic part of the game. And I'm wondering also how that translates to other games. It works well in Imperial Assault, I think. Like, I don't know if it would work for a strong Euro game, because you don't want to be completely caught off guard by something that you haven't been able to plan for. That's a huge tenet of Euro games, so you can plan ahead. But for a strong thematic game, it works really well to have this surprise element happen, where you know it's there, you know at some point you're going to open that door, but you don't know what's going to be behind the door until it happens. I connect these two things. I mean, they're both cliffhangers in different ways. I'd love to hear your thoughts of games that do this well, or how maybe some of your favorite games, how you think they could benefit from having more cliffhangers, whether it's at the end of the game or in the middle of the game. And that's one way that I'm thinking about it with Scythe, too. In Scythe, there are these encounter cards. So they're not events. They're not random things that happen. But at certain points, you'll move your character around the board and you'll have an encounter. And the encounter will give you a few different choices. So you might encounter... so one of the ones, I'm looking at some art that I have here. You might encounter some soldiers going fishing. They're just taking a break going fishing. And you have to decide what you're going to do. Are you going to talk to the soldiers? Are you going to kind of screw them over? Or are you going to take some middle ground? Are you going to maybe try to pay the soldiers, maybe buy something from them, or hire one of them as a mercenary? And so you're given these choices. It's not dice rolling at all. You're making a choice as to how you want that encounter to happen. And so in a small way, these encounters are mini cliffhangers. You know they're out there on the board. You know you're going to have encounters, but you don't know what the card's going to be when you get it. And it can change your strategy a little bit. They're always helpful. They never hurt you. But I don't know. This has just been on my mind since Imperial Assault has entered my my game night here. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on the idea of cliffhangers and surprises in games. Let me know in the comments. Thanks.